Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, we want to welcome you to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today with us, Angel Rebo, Brad and Casey Wallis, and Barbara Bartolome are going to be talking about near-death experiences, also known as NDE. They're going to be talking about how these can change your life and how you can use it to improve the world around you. Before starting, we want to remind you that Mindalia TV is a nonprofit organization. Our only mission is to help raise the level of consciousness around the world by sharing information that can help us have a better life. We want to also remind you that Mindalia streams on a daily basis in Portuguese, Spanish, and English. You can visit us in our different pages, Mindalia Televisao, Mindalia TV English, as you know, and Mindalia Televisión. We are not going to entertain you more. We're just going to be leaving you with Angel, Brad, Casey, and Barbara. Guys, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mirna, and welcome, Brad, welcome, Casey, and welcome, Barbara, to our conversation today.
Wow. Thanks, everybody, for having us. We're really excited to be here.
Yeah. Thank you. So, today we start a series of conversations with extraordinary people like Barbara, and that have extraordinary stories and conversations to share with us, which I'm pretty sure are going to change the lives of many people here at Mindalia TV. And we are actually going to do this with a couple of human beings that we have had with us before several times, that are going to not only facilitate but keep on inspiring us every single time we are with them, every Wednesday, hopefully every Wednesday in the morning. So could you please, Brad and Casey, obviously it's a great pleasure to have you with us. Would you mind explaining a little bit what we're going to see in the coming weeks?
Well, we're actually going to be having people on the show that have had near-death experiences. And what we're going to do is, my wife Casey is a channel, and through a near-death experience that I had, I asked the high-energy teaching group, who we now refer to as Julius, to come back with me. And so what Julius will do through Casey, through the conversation with the guest on the show, is Julius will, most people would say, interpret, but it's really not interpretation. They're going to explain, because they're already on the other side, what it was that guest had experienced and why they had experienced it that way in their life.
Yeah, we find that Julius's perceptions are always very high and very broad, and we trust that the guests have their own interpretation, which is magnificent. Some of them will have some confusion, but it's also very, very interesting to just get another perspective. Our intention, of course, is to deliver profound, meaningful truths, not only for our guests to support their experience and their intelligence and their wisdom, but also for your viewers who have an essence of mystery surrounding this subject matter, and helping that these messages will support them on their conscious journey as well.
Well, we always know in process of conversation, and especially after experiencing a near-death experience, there's always after a period of time, the person who's had that experience, they soon forget a lot of the things that they experienced, and then they start to question whether what they actually experienced was what they experienced. Even though it has had a profound effect on you and your soul, there's always a lag. So unless you've immediately recorded it or happened, there's always that break in process. And so hopefully through this conversation and through this experience, it will enlighten you and help to remind you of exactly that profound experience that you were able to experience.
Yeah. So we want to welcome our extraordinary guest, our guest, Barbara Barbara, could you start out, please, by just telling our viewers just a little bit about yourself, where you are, and who you are in your life?
Okay. My name is Barbara Bartolome, and I live in Santa Barbara, California. And I've been here about 35 years.
We can't hear you, Barbara. We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm not sure why, because it was working okay before. So can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Do we lose your sound?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you lost your sound. I don't know, for some reason.
Haven't
There's
touched
at the top of the page, at the top of the screen, there's a microphone. It should be.
Yes.
Now,
it's on.
awesome.
It's on. Okay, great. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
It's okay.
So,
it's all good.
Sorry about that.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. So my name is Barbara Bartolome, and I live in Santa Barbara, California, and I've been here about 35 years. I'm married, and it is a remarriage, so I have a wonderful person in my life, and I have his 2 children, my 2 children, and our baby together. Plus, I've had 8 foreign exchange students over the years from all over the world that we've hosted here in Santa Barbara. And I do a lot of volunteering around town, and I'm retired from the University of California, Santa Barbara, from the Graduate School of Education, where I also did a lot of volunteer work on campus. So that's kind of me. And I'm a happy girl. I'm usually always up and thrilled to be here, and that's part of my NDE experience.
Wow, what a soul. I was listening to everything that you were saying. Oh my God. What about the size of your heart? Amazing. So let me ask you the first question. So what is the most powerful memory that comes to your mind when you remember your near-death experience, Barbara?
The most powerful memory of it is the being above my body in the hospital that I was in, and looking down at my body below and hearing the X-ray tech who was standing next to the table during the diagnostic test calling code blue, and watching the stuff unfolding below me with the medical team doing resuscitation efforts. But the difference between what I had felt like in my body just before I died, which was severe panic, and the feeling that I felt up on the ceiling above my body was completely opposite. And I felt such incredible love and peace and wrapped in acceptance. And it was the most amazing moment that anyone could ever hope for. And I think that was that moment there of feeling the difference between being in body and being out of body was really, really the huge experience that I remember the most.
And so, Master, what we will tell you is that is an instantaneous experience of the difference between the altered ego and the soul's perception. So the physical embodiment, Master, is mostly wrapped in the altered ego perception. So human embodiments walk on this realm, viewing life, viewing experiences, and filtering their emotional capacity from the limited experiences of fear associated with the altered ego. And when you have a releasement of that for yourself, Master, you instantly come back to the ultimate truth of your authentic perception, which is love. And isn't it amazing now that you have that truth and you've had that switching effect? Because now you can take your own self instantly to that perception. And when you do, your life unfolds.
Wow, incredible. I mean, I'm really having chills as I was listening to what you were saying. So how would you say that on your daily life, Barbara, that has affected your life?
The outlook that I have on the world changed completely. I was in a very traumatic marriage at the time, and I firmly believe that this near-death experience was planted at that time to divert me off of the path that I was living, because I had 2 small children And I was trying to deal with someone who was very abusive. And I was giving, you know, every moment I was trying to be kind and forgive and forget and all the things that were happening, but it wasn't working because I was just enduring more and more pain and problems. So I think this was an intervention from the other side to help me see, because up on the ceiling when I was out of my body, when they were trying to resuscitate me, the very first blow that they did to my chest, because they couldn't get the defib unit in time to restart my heart, they did a precordial thump. And when they did that blow, this being that was up on the ceiling next to me the entire time finally spoke to me. I had been asking him or her to go back into my life to protect my children. And I also immediately knew outside of my body, the second I got out of my body, what my purpose was for my life. Whether it was set for me or whether I set it for myself, I don't know. But it was absolutely apparent that I had not completed it yet or even started it, and I needed to go into that, go do that work, which is kind of what I do now with talking about my near-death experiences. I really feel that was my purpose, and I just needed to wait until it was the right time for me to talk about it. But the being spoke to me up on the ceiling and said, if you go back, because I was asking to go back, you'll still be in your marriage. What will you do? And then he showed me, or he or she showed me, all of these little film clips that just flashed past my my awareness of all of the things that I had been facing in my life, of the abusive moments. And then I was given all of the time I needed to evaluate what I had been doing in my marriage and what my future would be if I stayed in that situation. And so then I ended up saying to the being, if you let me go back, I promise you that I will get strong enough to leave him. And at that point, the doctors restarted my heart and I was back in my body again. So it was an amazing experience, to say the least.
It's fabulous, Barbara, to know that you have the power to control things in your life, and human beings have actually forgotten that.
Yes.
It's also amazing to find out that practically every person who has experienced a near-death experience has changed their life to some degree or another. And I always try to explain to people, we're all been giving a do-over. We get the opportunity to do things over again.
Your being master is Antonera, and she seats with you on many, many life scales and many, many life experiences. She loves you deeply, deeply, Master. She resides on your upper left side. If you were able to have a photograph taken of you, she appears as light in your upper left crown of your physical embodiment. And what we will tell you is this. She desires for you to know that you are creating your experience for yourself, Master, and never forget that. That is not a state of arrogance, but a state of true empowerment. Your gifting, Master, is to empower others to know that they do not have to sit in victimhood, that it is always a choice. And that from this experience that you have had, you know, Master, that there is an always promise of ongoingness. You shall never end. And so ultimately there is nothing to fear except the illusion that you could possibly be harmed. We are truly honored to be within your presence, and we recognize the masterhood that you are.
Thank you. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you. I realized in my life that it came on early, because the other side of my near-death experience in 1987 is that I found out, after not talking about it for a long time, I found out that I had had an earlier experience when I was a baby. So when I was 18 months old, my older brother finally told me. My parents had told my siblings not to tell me about this, but I finally found out when I was 55 years old that I'd had a death experience when I was 18 months old. And so I realized that in my life, I look back and I saw myself as so different than children around me, my siblings, my friends. And that manifestation that I've had in my life in what I wanted to bring forward has been so true and so amazing to know that, because in the things that happened to me, there were all lessons. And I realized that even the abusive person was a lesson for me. And I appreciate that lesson that I received now after I'm past it. But the manifestation in my life has been awesome and beyond amazing, because in after that situation occurred and I was single after I left that person that I was married to, I realized that I needed to figure out in my life what type of character traits I would want in someone that I would want next to me in my life. So for 2 years after I divorced my abusive husband, I spent every evening after the children were in bed analyzing character traits and looking for positive things that I would want. And after 2 years, I had 206 things written down. And I always said to the other side when I went and shut the book each night, please bring this person to me at the right timing for me and for him. And please let me know that this is the right person when you bring him to me so I can recognize him. Because I didn't want to date anybody and I didn't want to waste my time doing that. And I didn't. So my son walked in one Saturday, and he was 13 years old by this time. And he had along a neighborhood friend who was 12. And as it turned out, they wanted to go to a movie. And when I went to pick them up at her house, it turned out to be my husband, who I'm married to now. And it was the children who put us together. And I really looked at that list for about 6 months, analyzing his behaviors, because I didn't want to get caught into another abusive situation. And I saw that those 206 things that I had written down of kindness and patience and friendliness and love and caring and concern, all of those things were all of what I was being connected to with this person that I was dating. And so we got married 25 years ago, and we combined our two families. And so we've had a very nice ride since then, but it was the manifestation that helped me to find him, and also trusting that the other side had the understanding of what I needed and would bring that forward to me.
Wow, what a powerful story, huh? What an absolutely fabulous message to prove how powerful you are.
So, Master, what we will say is this, if we may, is that human embodiments have more than one, what you perceive to be near-death experiences in their lives. Actually, there's quite a lot of that goes on where your soul leaves the physical embodiment for periods of times. That is not to frighten you, that is not to make worry of you, but truly actually to give you an example of how absolutely extraordinary you are, as are all others. The opportunity to breathe, the opportunity to have a relief from all of the illusion that binds you, so that clarity can come through with full force, fluidity, so that you may know yourself as the all.
Absolutely.
Barbara, how would you say that your relationship with the people around you has changed since you had that experience?
Yeah, it definitely has. I believe that I'm more tolerant of people around me, and I recognize that not everyone is vibrating at the same level. And so when there are people that are difficult or problematic, then I think that I'm able to understand that a little bit better and accept that. And so I just literally find that I love a lot of people. I adopt a lot of people. I have all sorts of adoptees in my family, not only those 8 kids, but elderly people. I have a 102-year-old woman I've adopted, and a little 6-year-old girl that calls me grandma. And yeah, our families are not just our circular family that are around us that are, married or born into our relationship. We can just absolutely enhance lives and enhance our own lives by loving people around us that have nothing to do with our marriage or our family or whatever. And I really have done that in my life, and I've loved everybody that I've brought in. So yeah, I think that if everybody reached out and touched people around them in that loving way, we'd have a much better world. So I try to go out and open the door for someone, or pay for someone's drink at a restaurant, or just any kind of little thing. I walk up to homeless people, and I don't care whether they're going to spend the $5 I give them on alcohol or food. I say to them, I hope this buys you a nice lunch, but that's not my decision what they do with that. I have an extra $5 to give to them, and that is something that everyone should do, to go out and reach out and touch the people that are suffering out there, and just make someone's life happy today. Because when you focus on that, there is no room for depression. It is always positive, and it lightens you and brightens you when you do things for others. And I really find that in my life totally happening.
The emotional experience of the out of body is immeasurable. Most physical embodiments struggle with their emotions while they are human. You are taught to detach from them. You are taught that some are good and some are bad. And it is the emotion that is the soul. That is a truth. So many human beings are walking around out of relationship of the knowing of their soul, because their emotions are very dead, very detached, and very subdued. Out of physical embodiment is always an extraordinarily powerful emotional experience. Your emotions are unleashed, and given that opportunity, love is the choice, because it is so extraordinary and so pleasurable. And you must walk forward in your life with that continual experience of love, and your desire is to awaken it in all others as well. Would you agree?
Absolutely agree with that. If you've had a near-death experience and you deny the fact that it has actually happened to you, you are not being truthful with yourself. And so what happens is, once you find the truth and you accept that truth, it's like you just can't do enough for other people. You constantly want to help somebody. You constantly want to do something for somebody. You want to go around and you want to shake everybody, and you want to say, come on, wake up. The world, this is just an illusion. There are so many other things going on here, and we all need to love each other and help each other.
So, Barbara, do you find that your emotions are now in a heightened state for everything in your life?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I
I do. Absolutely do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and do you perhaps encourage others to feel those higher emotions as well, because you have experienced the changes that they have made in your life?
Right, exactly. I feel that I'm really lucky to have a support system of my family who understands my near-death experience. And then I'm really happy to have the support system of IANS, the organization that helps people understand about near-death experiences. And in those two, I have a support system that allows me to be myself and full of love. And I have delightful experiences left and right because of that. And so, sometimes I really feel that I'm extremely blessed. I know that I am really extremely blessed because of the situations that occur in my life. And when things unfold, people around me go, "Oh my God, I can't believe that just happened to you." But it's so awesome. One of the things is that literally I win things all the time. So I can literally be someplace with my friends, and they'll want to go to, let's say there's a casino or something, and I go and I'll win this big amount of money by only putting like $2 into the machine, and they'll go, "How did you do that?" And it's like, I believed I was going to win. And so it's all about having that, setting that intention that, life is going to be beautiful. Life is going to be wonderful. You just are acting out a wonderful, happy life, and it comes to you once you decide that that's what you've got. And so there are things that come into your life that are struggles, and I have them as well. My lovely husband that I'm married to is 7 feet tall, 2 meters 13 centimeters. He's an ex-NBA basketball player, and he has cancer, and he's had it for 27 years, longer than I've known him. But in all of the cancer that he's had, we have gone to the doctors, and because of my attitude and my near-death experience, understanding that I've passed on to him, he doesn't fear death. And we go and had chemo for 5.5 years and sat there in the chair and infused the chemo with joy instead of fear. And that brought joy to the people that were close by us too. And our doctors absolutely adore us because we don't live through this experience with fear. We go and we talk to them and hug them and enjoy them. And it is just so much fun. It's not something to fear. And so, because death is not anything to fear, we're all going to pass somehow. So it is just very beautiful to have this near-death experience in my life and to have it bring to me so many pieces of understanding and growth that it's given me. I wish it on everybody. I know that everybody's having them, but I hope that they all grow from them, as probably Brad and I have done.
So I was wondering if, I'm going to tell you a thought I have, and then I ask you a question about it. I was wondering if maybe once you have a near-death experience, then you stay connected to something somewhere. So my question is, have you ever had to ask for a very specific thing, or you were in a situation in which you desperately needed help and you requested that help? Has that ever happened to you, and what has been the result of that?
Yes. In fact, I have an amazing story. So 2 years ago, we were driving back from San Francisco, and I had spoken in San Francisco at 4 different group locations. And we were driving back, and we were just north of Santa Barbara by about 30 miles, and it was about 9:30 at night. And we came around a corner, and the roadway was running along the side of the ocean, and a huge gust of wind hit the side of our vehicle. And I saw my husband struggling with the steering wheel. So he was driving, and I said, I think we shouldn't be doing, 70 miles an hour, which is normal for this stretch. I think we should slow down. And so we did. And he said, sure. He knows that I have this connection to the other side, so he pretty much listens all the time. And so then just maybe moments later, maybe a few minutes later, this voice in my ear said, danger, big impact ahead, danger, big impact. And so I always listen to them. I know they're helping me. And so I turned to him and I said, I just heard this danger, big impact ahead, danger, big impact. And I said, I think we need to slow down from 50 miles an hour that we're doing right now to 30 miles an hour. And he said, Barbara, we're on the freeway. We shouldn't be doing 30. And I turned around and looked through our van, and I saw that there were no cars behind us. And so I said to him, it doesn't matter if we're doing 30, there's no one around us. So no one's going to care. So let's do 30. And if you see a car coming up behind us, then you can speed back up again. So we were doing 30 miles an hour. No cars ever caught up. Well, we didn't know that the California Highway Patrol had closed the freeway behind us because what was ahead of us. And we were driving along in the dark. There's no streetlights out there or anything. It's very out in the middle of nowhere. And we came around a corner and there was a police car's lights way up in the distance. And I got intuition. I always have it right here in my chest when it happens. And I realized that's where the problem was. And when we got closer to the scene, it was a police car that was parked in the slow lane of the 2-lane highway, blocking the slow lane. And so as we got closer and closer to it, I realized also there was no police officer inside the vehicle nor anywhere within the lights of the vehicle's lights on top. So I was very on high alert. And as we were in the slow lane, we needed to change lanes to get around the vehicle. And as we started to do that, whoever it was that was helping me from the other side grabbed both of my upper arms and then put their face right in front of my face. I literally felt them nose to nose with me, and they screamed 10 miles an hour. And I was so freaked out that they touched me and screamed at me that I screamed at my husband 10 miles an hour really loudly. And he slowed down so that just as we were passing on the left-hand side in the fast lane, the police car, we slowed down to 10 miles an hour. And just as we slid past the police car, finally, our lights lit up, which was about 30 yards ahead of us, a semi-truck that had turned over on its side with the dirty bottom of the truck facing us with no reflectors or anything. And the cab of the truck was in the fast lane where we were, and the rest of the truck was in the slow lane where the police officer had stopped and off the freeway. And so we were able to just divert into the gravel on the left-hand side of the truck, off the freeway and around the cab of the truck. And as I turned and looked, I went into shock as this was happening. And I turned and looked behind me as we passed the truck's front end. And there was the police officer standing on top of the truck, talking to the truck driver who was trapped inside the truck. And had we hit that going 70 miles an hour, that's where the gas tanks are on the truck. And we would have died, as well as the truck driver and the police officer. So I immediately started saying thank you to the other side. I call it the other side. And I was saying thank you for 10 minutes for all 4 of our lives being saved. And then my husband looked over at me in the silence and he said, "Barbara, how is it that you're able to do that?" And I said, "Victor, it's not me doing it. It's the other side doing it. I'm just listening and I understand that they're there. And so I know they always want to help me. So they know that I'm going to listen to them. So they voice what they need to tell me. And it's that clear of a conversation." And I said, if everyone understood this, we'd all have this type of help. Sometimes it's you're walking by an alleyway and you hear this intuition moment where it says, don't walk by there. That's not your intuition. That's the other side helping you. So I really feel I'm connected to that, and I love it that I am, and I appreciate them, and I tell them all the time how much I love them. And so I think that's the key. When you have that help, you're very grateful for it.
We refer to those as the circumstantial beings that have decided to play a role. I get emotional. They've decided to play a role in each of our lives. And yet, as a human being, you talk yourself out of that experience. Everyone is given that gift. They just don't know it. They don't use it. But the beings continue to bless each of us with their presence, knowing that someday we will listen to them.
So, Master, you remember that we told you that when you went out of physical embodiment, you were able to detach from the altered ego and have your authentic alignment with self. And also remember this, we are all one, Master. We are all one, no matter where your teaching comes from. No matter where your belief system sits, that is a consistent message that we are all one. And when you step away from the altered ego, you instantly are in the arena of that. And there is such clarity of knowing that hits you that it is unquestionable. And so we are so grateful for you, Master Barbara, that you sit mostly in alignment with your soul, no longer attached to your altered ego. And that accessibility is boundless. You may tell your beautiful partner, that as he learns to master the components of being aligned with his altered ego, detach completely from that and come into full alignment with self and soul, that not only shall he receive and be in the accessibility of clarity of those types of messages, but the fear will leave his physical embodiment as well. And he may move on to a more masterful experience.
Barbara, I was going to ask you, what's your husband's name?
Victor Bartolome.
Victor. Okay, so does Victor ever want to go by himself anywhere now?
You know, we travel a lot because I travel to talk about my near-death experience, and so he's my bodyguard, and he's my chef, and he's my driver. He's just so wonderful. He's my big support system, and I love it that he's in my life, and I totally manifested that and brought him in because he is such a dear person. He's loved by everyone that knows him. Yep.
Excellent. So we've reached the end of our conversation today. It's been an incredible experience. It's been a blessing to be able to hear what you do every day, what you experience. It's been really a powerful testimony for all of us, right? We really help. Thank you on Mindalia TV that you have been able to share this with our audience. So this is your home for whenever you want to come back. Barbara.
Thank you, and kisses to all.
Thank you very much, and obviously thank you very much, Brad and Casey. It's been an amazing interview and conversation with you, with Julius, and with Barbara today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Brad and Casey. I want you guys adopted into my life, okay?
Always.
Excellent. So this is
too.
Thank you, absolutely. So
Love
this
you guys.
is
Bye-bye.
Thank you. This is Angel Rebo with Mindalia TV. Thank you very much for being with us today in such an amazing interview and conversation, and hope to see you again real soon. We are going to continue this series with Brad and Casey next week. Hopefully it's going to be was it 7 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesday, right? So we'll try to stay at that very same time next week. So again, thank you, everybody, and see you soon. Goodbye.